Never let a pet groomer tell you that your dog's sudden panic on the grooming table is just normal behavior. When you hand over your pet to a professional, you are not just paying for a haircut and a bath. You are paying for patience, safety, and a calm pair of hands that will not treat your family member like a piece of factory work. Today, we are walking step by step through what happened when one busy groomer decided to put speed over safety. We will look at how the owner spotted the red flags, gathered hard facts instead of starting a shouting match, and permanently moved their business elsewhere. Most importantly, you will learn the exact blueprint for protecting your own pet when a service business drops the ball. Let us start on a rainy Tuesday morning at a local grooming shop called Paws and Polish on Maple Avenue. A dog owner named Sarah brought in her 3-year-old golden retriever mix named Cooper for a routine wash, de-shed and nail trim. Cooper had been going to this same salon every 6 weeks for nearly a year without any real problems. The usual groomer, a woman named Elena, was known for taking her time and giving every dog plenty of water breaks. When Sarah opened the door that morning, the shop smelled like wet fur, lavender shampoo, and pure chaos. Elena was no longer working there, and the shop was now run entirely by the owner, a man named Marcus. Marcus was running 30 minutes behind schedule, answering a ringing landline and trying to dry 2 small poodles at the same time. He grabbed Cooper's leash without saying hello, barely made eye contact with Sarah, and said he would be done in 45 minutes flat. Any experienced dog owner knows that 45 minutes is nowhere near enough time to properly bathe, brush, and dry a dense-coated retriever. To finish a large, thick-coated dog in that amount of time, a groomer has to rush every single step of the process. Sarah felt a knot in her stomach right away, but she assumed Marcus was simply having a stressful morning. She walked out the door and sat in her car, watching the front window of the shop with growing concern. Through the glass, she could see Marcus lifting Cooper onto the high metal grooming table with rough, jerky movements. Cooper was pulling his ears back flat against his head, tucking his tail tightly between his legs, and panting rapidly. These are textbook stress signals that every certified groomer is trained to recognize within the first 5 seconds of handling an animal. Instead of pausing for 30 seconds to let Cooper smell the tools and calm down, Marcus yanked the grooming loop tighter around the dog's neck. He turned on a high-velocity blow dryer at full blast right next to Cooper's face without giving the dog ear protection. Cooper tried to back away from the terrifying noise, slipping on the slick metal surface of the table because Marcus had not laid down a rubber grip mat. When a dog loses its footing on a grooming table, its heart rate spikes and its fear can instantly turn into sheer panic. Industry standards set by professional pet care associations clearly state that physical comfort and emotional stability come before speed. A groomer should never force an animal through a scary process just to clear the table for the next paying customer. Rushing through a grooming session leads to nicked skin, pulled mats, clipper burn, and severe emotional trauma for the animal. When an animal gets traumatized on the table, it can take months or even years of expensive behavioral training to undo that fear. Marcus did not care about the dog's emotional state. He only cared about the clock ticking down on his wall. He roughly pulled Cooper's front paws forward to clip his nails, moving so fast that he took off way too much length on 2 separate claws. Cooper let out a sharp yelp and tried to pull his leg back, but Marcus held on tight, pinning the dog against his hip. When Sarah walked back into the lobby 35 minutes later, she heard Cooper whining from the back room. Marcus brought Cooper out to the front desk, handed the leash over, and immediately demanded full payment plus tip. Cooper was trembling so hard that his front legs were shaking against the lobby tile floor. His coat was still damp near the base of his neck, his ears were red and warm to the touch, and he was desperately trying to pull Sarah toward the exit. Sarah took a deep breath, knelt down to comfort her dog, and immediately noticed the raw pink spots on Cooper's belly from clipper burn. She also saw a tiny smear of dark red on his left front paw, where a nail had been cut down into the sensitive quick. Right there in the lobby, Sarah decided to handle the situation calmly and directly before leaving the building. She looked at Marcus and politely pointed out the damp fur, the clipper burn on his belly, and Cooper's extreme shaking. She explained that Cooper had never left a grooming session in this kind of physical distress before. She asked Marcus if something specific had happened during the bath or drying stage that made Cooper so terrified. A good business owner would have apologized immediately, checked the dog's paws, and offered a refund or a sincere explanation. Customer service in the pet care industry is built on radical accountability because you are dealing with living creatures that owners love deeply. Instead of listening, Marcus crossed his arms, rolled his eyes, and went on the defensive. He told Sarah that her dog was poorly trained, difficult to handle, and that Cooper was the reason the appointment took so long. He claimed that the damp coat was normal, that the red skin was just an allergic reaction to grass, and that he did nothing wrong. He flatly refused to take any responsibility, raised his voice slightly, and turned around to wipe down his counter. In that exact moment, an isolated service mistake turned into a total breakdown of professional trust. Sarah knew that arguing with a defensive business owner in the middle of a crowded lobby was a complete waste of energy. She did not yell, she did not slam the door, and she did not make a scene in front of the other waiting customers. Instead, she paid the base service fee without a tip, clipped Cooper's leash securely, and walked straight out to her car. When a service provider fails you, getting angry in the moment gives them an excuse to label you as a crazy customer. Keeping your cool gives you the upper hand and allows you to build a factual case that nobody can argue against. As soon as Sarah got home, she started a systematic documentation process to record every single detail while it was still fresh. First, she took out her phone and snapped clear, high-resolution photos of Cooper's underside, showing the bright red clipper burn. She took macro photos of the bleeding nail on his front paw, using a clean paper towel to show the active red spot. She captured a 30-second video of Cooper pacing around the living room, panting heavily and refusing to drink his water bowl. Next, Sarah opened a blank document on her computer and wrote down a complete chronological timeline of the entire morning. She wrote down the exact time she dropped Cooper off at 9:15 in the morning and the time she picked him up at 9:50. She wrote down Marcus's exact quotes from their conversation in the lobby, word for word, without adding emotional insults. She attached the digital receipt showing the 35-minute turnaround time for a full-service D-shed package. That short timestamp was the smoking gun, proving beyond any doubt that Marcus had cut major corners to rush the job. With all her evidence gathered, Sarah's next step was to completely cut business ties with Marcus and his salon. She opened the salon's online booking portal and immediately cancelled all 4 of her upcoming recurring appointments for the rest of the year. Those recurring appointments represented hundreds of dollars of guaranteed annual income that Marcus instantly lost in 10 seconds. Then, Sarah spent 2 hours researching other local grooming salons in the area, looking specifically for low-stress handling certifications. She found a salon 3 miles away called Gentle Paws Spa, which had hundreds of 5-star reviews praising their patient approach. Sarah called the new shop, explained Cooper's recent bad experience, and asked how they handle dogs that are nervous on the table. The owner of Gentle Paws Spa spent 15 minutes on the phone with Sarah, explaining their policy of taking things slow and using positive reinforcement. She booked Cooper for a meet and greet visit the following week, putting her dog's comfort and mental health first. Once Cooper was safe and settled, Sarah turned her attention to warning other pet parents in her neighborhood. She did not write an angry, emotional rant filled with all caps words, exclamation points, and personal attacks against Marcus. Ranting reviews make the writer look unreasonable, which causes other pet owners to ignore the warning. Instead, Sarah wrote a calm, factual, and strictly objective online review detailing the exact sequence of events. She wrote that the groomer completed an 80-minute service in 35 minutes because the shop was overbooked. She noted that the dog returned home with clipper irritation and a bleeding quick, attaching the time-stamped photos directly to the post. She clearly described the conversation in the lobby, explaining how the owner dismissed her feedback and blamed the dog's behavior. She finished the review by stating that she had cancelled all future appointments and moved her business to a competitor. Within 48 hours, Sarah's review had been voted helpful by over 30 local pet owners on the platform. Several neighbours in a local social media group replied saying they had experienced the exact same rushed service from Marcus in recent weeks. By putting the documented facts out in the open, Sarah gave her community the objective information they needed to make smart choices. She turned a bad, stressful morning into an effective piece of public consumer advocacy that protected other dogs from suffering the same fate. The business consequences for Marcus started piling up almost immediately after the review went live. Losing Sarah's recurring business was a direct hit to his monthly revenue, but the ripple effect was much larger. Prospective clients searching for local groomers saw the undeniable photo evidence of the clipper burn and the rushed 35-minute receipt. When people see clear proof that a groomer rushes appointments and cuts corners on animal welfare, they simply do not book. Marcus had to spend extra money on local advertising just to replace the steady stream of regular customers who quietly walked away. All of this damage happened because Marcus prioritized turning over tables fast instead of providing quality, compassionate care. A grooming business does not survive on haircuts alone. It survives entirely on the invisible bridge of trust between the groomer and the family. When a pet owner hands you their dog, they are trusting you with a living being that cannot speak for itself. If you violate that trust by rushing, causing pain, and ignoring valid feedback, your business will eventually feel the consequences. The biggest lesson from Sarah's story is how powerful a composed, methodical response can be when dealing with poor service. You do not need to raise your voice, argue in a lobby, or let someone drag you into an emotional fight to get justice. You simply gather your evidence, protect your pet, take your money somewhere else, and let the facts speak for themselves. Every single dollar you spend is a vote for the type of service and care you expect from local businesses. When you demand high standards and refuse to tolerate negligence, you raise the bar for the entire pet care industry. Check out our next video on how to spot the 5 subtle warning signs of bad pet boarding facilities before you drop off your dog.